set. Cue the music.
Hello and welcome to another vintage Shadowninjaman video. Hitman stands as my favourite gaming series at the moment, having been hooked on it for the last 2.5 years, and with the release of Hitman 2 in November, I have spent many hours playing through the game. With this release, Master Assassin, Agent 47, is sent across another 6 locations to execute perfect eliminations on numerous influential individuals. And today, I will be ranking these 6 launch missions in these respective locations from worst to best. Each mission will be ranked off criteria consisting of the atmosphere, meaning the environment, soundtrack and the tone of the level, the mission's functionality, its replayability, and the overall enjoyability of each level. This video is going to be a long one, so grab a snack, sit back and enjoy as we travel through and rank Agent 47's journey in Hitman 2. Hitman 2's opening level takes Agent 47 to an isolated beach house along the moonlit coast of Hawke's Bay, New Zealand. We see our protagonist speed up to the beach, ready for some traditional breaking and entering to extract information from the computer of high-ranking militia member Alma Reynard. The player is greeted to a captivating return to the Hitman franchise as Agent 47 steps onto the shore, ready to get back to work. This level has an unmatched environmental atmosphere to it, with 47 walking along the beach to the crash of waves and the roar of thunder. This setting is absolutely captivating and feels like the opening to a spy movie or a thriller, and gives the player the impression of 47 being a cold, calculated killer, which feels reminiscent of some of the older games like Contracts or Blood Money. To the left, the waves are spellbindingly lit with a glistening silver glow. To the right, a dark storm cloud cascades over a sand dune with streaks of lightning crackling off the towering mountains in the distance. The beach is almost completely untouched, apart from a lighthouse far into the distance and a single light coming from the window of the house. The interior of the house looks as equally impressive as the exterior, the architecture being trendy, modern and beautifully lit by surroundings and light sources in the dark. From the pool area, the living room to the downstairs bathroom, the whole house feels sophisticated and uninviting to the undesired guest. Whilst the setting is aesthetically pleasing, the choice to omit a soundtrack in favour of environmental noises is both a blessing and a curse. Whilst it portrays the isolation of the beach perfectly, if implemented properly in the interior of the house, it could have been employed to increase tension as it does in other missions and older titles. For example, the soundtrack that begins playing once you assassinate Reynard, however, perfectly drives the need to get off the beach before the militia finds out. It's a shame it comes into the mission this late, but it does suit the level quite well, and overall enhances the experience of the mission. Given the exit is so far away as well, you'll have a decent bit of time to hear it. Once you do strip away the amazing aesthetic, the mission does play out as a somewhat generic militia level like Colorado, which was one of the more divisive levels of Hitman's first season. This primarily arises from there only being a single disguise, which leads us to the primary issue surrounding the mission, and that is how it functions. Given the New Zealand level does not play as well as other missions on a functional level, this problem ultimately undermines how enjoyable and replayable the mission is. People often comment this level is small, which in terms of the level's size is not necessarily true, as you can see from how far I have just run. This comes from how little the level is actually used to complete the mission. Though you can't really see it, the exit is about 230 meters away, meaning the level on a length times width basis is bigger than missions like Whittleton Creek. But whilst those levels fill the space with items or rooms which can allow 47 to get closer to or isolate the target, this is essentially empty space. The second major failure on a functional level is the problem of linearity. Every single other mission provides substantial freedom of approach, whereas New Zealand is either guided or restrained by a series of objectives to complete the level. This is how the level plays out. First, run to the house.
Now, according to the local home security provider, the house is equipped with multiple cameras placed around the perimeter. I suggest you get rid of them, 47.
Then comes entering the house, which is primarily done through breaking into the garage door. Once you're inside, search upstairs for the computer.
That computer. See if you can't access it.
And you can't access it, so you've got to break into a hidden room, steal a USB, and then complete step 1.
Hurry. I'm detecting movement up the road. A motorcade, possibly Reynard's.
Uploading the data.
Hold on.
Step 2 involves assassinating Reynard, which is the premise of the entire game, and you only get one target to do so, but yeah, whatever. And then you get to run a half mile all the way back to your boat, which is the only exit on the level. And to do so, you need to blow up a car to lure some guards away until you can finally exit the mission. Although you can skip the process of entering the house and finding the computer once you hit level 5 mastery, which is a really good feature, there is still only one escape, which feels incredibly tedious and time consuming. It would be ideal if you could escape via the cars outside or somewhere closer by, but at this time this is not an option in the game. Of all these steps, the only interesting one that provides for some freedom of choice is assassinating Reynard, but even then you essentially have one of 4 options: poisoning her tea. I'll quickly mention this is an interesting twist on the traditional poison opportunity, because there's one of 2 ingredients she'll use based on her conversation, so you gotta wait and listen.
Target down.
You can wait for Orson to shower and kill her then. Or you can wait for her to retire to bed and kill her with your gun or by suffocation. Or start a lockdown and send her to the panic room and kill her from the roof, which is a really interesting one.
Target down. Well done, 47. Now get off the property.
Because Reynard has such a rigidly set route, these second and third options require a significant amount of waiting. It always feels like quite a wait for the latter options, and I was interested to see how long it truly was. Because Reynard walks in at 30 seconds, each figure on the clock is subtracted by 30, and using this, it takes Reynard over 4 minutes to go upstairs, roughly 6.5 minutes to brush her teeth, and just over 11 minutes to fall asleep. This is such a long time that my first save slot is permanently dedicated to be halfway through Reynard's route, just so I can kill her without sitting around. As a result of both these issues, New Zealand feels like a strange fusion of an Absolution and Patient Zero mission. With lots of waiting, linearity, one disguise, and underutilization, this lushly designed paradise feels like a significantly missed opportunity, and unsurprisingly is the weakest mission of Hitman 2. After a relatively weak opening to Hitman 2, the following 3 levels are all massive in size and in scope. Remaining in the Southern Hemisphere, the number 5 spot goes to the 3rd mission located deep within the Colombian rainforest. I just want to quickly note here how much of a difference in quality there is between the number 6 and the number 5 spot. Whilst only being number 5, Santa Fortuna is a better experience than 50% of the levels of the first season, and represents a high quality 3-target assassination in a massively hostile environment. This level takes an interesting approach to level design, fundamentally placing 3 targets each in their own respective environment. Andrea Martinez is guarded by sicarios throughout the more accessible village and residential areas. Jorge Franco lies deep within the rainforest on the entirely opposite side of the map, while the head honcho himself, Rico Delgado, remains in his heavily fortified mansion unless prompted to leave by one or more mission stories. The clear separation of the target's locations exacerbates the sense of scale of the mission and is used to portray the reach the Delgado drug cartel has, giving the level a sense of authenticity. This is particularly evident when 47 first enters the level, sees the mansion right in front of him, and is forcefully turned back at the gate the size of a castle's. This decision reinforces the idea that each of the targets are a high-ranking member of the cartel. Even though the three targets are clearly separated, with only Martinez and Delgado interacting with each other on a single occasion, the level is connected through a series of caves and other routes, making everything feel overall interconnected. Santa Fortuna places particular emphasis on the interconnectivity of the level through its mission stories, in which a vast majority require 47 to leave a target's respective area to retrieve an item or disguise from somewhere else. Evident through retrieving Martinez's love letter from the mansion, disguising as the tattooist from the village bar, or obtaining a hippie disguise and glue in the village in order to meet with Franco. This design, whilst enjoyable, does have certain shortcomings. Given the massive size of the level, this fundamentally requires a significant amount of traversal or running about, waiting, or the requirement to obtain a disguise suitable to the more hostile areas of Santa Fortuna. Further, the routes of Franco and Martinez, in particular, feel relatively restrictive in terms of finding the means to eliminate them quietly. This often requires the player to resort to mission stories, reducing the level's potential replayability. It's by no means a bad level, but similarly to the game's opening, there are certain instances in which, especially given the huge size of the level, the map feels like it underutilizes its potential. The map itself, for example, is predominantly centered around the village and the mansion, with the jungle sometimes feeling like an afterthought given its small size in comparison. It would have been far more interesting to have a small fishing village surrounded by a large, hostile jungle, than a village nearly the size of Sapienza's, with a mansion and a small jungle on the far edges of the map. Despite the setting focusing more on the village than the jungle, Columbia's greatest strength is its fiery depiction of the Delgado drug cartel. A common complaint of Hitman's first season was that it moved further towards a James Bond super spy tone than that of a contract killer. Or in another sense, the series had moved away from the darker atmosphere more prevalent in previous titles. I can say with absolute assurance that this level properly conveys a gritty, brutal, and disturbing atmosphere to the standard of darker Hitman levels of the past, like the Meat King's Party. From here I have to mention what I consider to be the best soundtrack in the entire game. The soundtrack in the village evokes a sense of sadness and hopelessness, while the more heavily cartel-controlled areas perfectly establish criminal undertones and an underlying tension that 47 may be caught out. The decision to have 4 separate types of guards, scattered in vast numbers across the map, who are extremely alert, adds to the sense that Delgados have eyes everywhere. However, most Hitman missions have quite sizable amount of guards, but it's the behaviour of the guards in Santa Fortuna that give the player a constant reminder that these are men who are ruthless killers, seeking any opportunity to spill blood. This is best seen through the interactions in the tattooist mission story.
Some ink on skin as well in my time. Of course, most of that was in prison, and not always with people who appreciated the war. You know how hard it is to tattoo traitor on a guy's forehead while he's squirming around on the ground like a wolf?
That's quite a story.
You bet.
Calm down, all right? Everything's okay here.
He's a stranger, Rico. I don't like his face.
You're taking it too far, Jose. No guns.
No. I'm not willing to take any risk here, Jefe.
Hey, Jose, I need you to leave us alone now. You're too wound up right now. You understand?
All right, boss, all right. But I'll be back in a little while if I don't hear from you the way I want.
Rico Delgado shares a similar impatience with the Hippo Whisperer.
What the fuck is this, huh? You think we're playing fucking games here? Huh? You think I'm just some lunatic in the jungle? I'm Rico fucking Delgado. You better get your shit together. You have one more chance to get this right, cabrón. One more. You hear me?
Mr. Delgado, the animal has emerged from its hiding place.
Really? You're not bullshitting me again, right? Nothing! You miserable fucking weasel! I've had it up to here with your dumb shit! You're fucking dead! Better lock and load!
Hugo, what the hell are you doing?
What happened?
Don't let
There's a
him
guy
get
back
away!
there.
No,
Wait,
hey, give me!
The mansion is a great example in effective level design, openly seeking to establish tension for the player. The area is covered with highly observant guards, and like Colorado, it is highly open and exposed, with few escape routes and doorways to flee from trouble. However, it's far more interesting and a more stylishly designed setting than that of one of the more divisive levels of Season 1. Overall, Santa Fortuna is littered with hidden details, secret doors, and other secret passages, which provides a great deal of depth for the player who's willing to keep an eye out for such things. With a captivating setting, the level is a joy to run through the first few times, but with a greater deal of attention on the village than the advertised jungle, restrictive routes of targets, and a lot of empty space, the level falls slightly shorter than others in Hitman 2. Despite being a massive step up from the number 6 spot and a great level in its own right, the consistency of high quality missions in Hitman 2 leaves Santa Fortuna, unfortunately, in the number 5 spot. Flying directly north, we landed our number 4 spot in the small suburban neighbourhood of Whittleton Creek in Vermont, USA. A picturesque little community at first glance, but looking at it through a deeper lens, it hides many dark secrets. A Providence Herald, and a former KGB spy master and ex-Providence constant. The setting is perhaps the most relatable of all those in Hitman 2, a simple suburban neighbourhood. This level at first instance appears to be like the prototype 1950s American neighbourhood, but upon further exploration it becomes a fantasy world of bizarre imagination in which neighbours are not who they seem and seemingly everyone conceals a hidden agenda. Whittleton Creek is the location which most contrasts the others in Hitman 2. Whilst the others are all massive adventures in size, scope and grandeur, the charm of Whittleton Creek is in its simplicity. Sunny skies, a minimalistic soundtrack,
Wide roads, golden maple trees and verdant lawns.
and of course some simple neighbourhood routines create a truly unique stealth experience. This level of any demonstrates the social stealth deeply ingrained within the series, a stark juxtaposition to many games which require the player to mow down a ton of enemies and occasionally providing the option to dispatch them quietly. This is what Whittleton Creek does best. It offers the player a relatively enclosed space with a plethora of disguises to choose from, providing a massive degree of choice to the player. The joys of the level truly come from its simplicity. You can ring someone's doorbell, be harassed by a politician,
I like your honesty. And just between you and me, I don't care about politics either.
you can put mail in a mailbox, or visit that bad neighbour who is threatening legal action against a cranky old man, or even grab a delicious muffin from the neighbourhood's old grandmotherly figure. All of these simple interactions add a great deal of relatability to the level and evoke a sense of nostalgia to players of Blood Money's A New Life. The throwback in the title of the mission, Another Life, to Blood Money is fantastic as well. I really love it. And then comes the fantasy to make something that is a part of the player's daily existence into an enthralling location for an assassination. That cranky old man was formerly one of the most influential men in the Soviet secret police. And that community-loving muffin baker is secretly a sadistic murderer.
Sinister-looking basement. What could she be doing down here?
More or less advanced chemistry at this point. So many things that could interact. But I have to choose one.
And some members of the community are actually undercover agents trying to blend in, much like 47.
That's not an ordinary resident of Whittleton Creek, 47. This must be one of Cassidy's men working undercover.
47 also dons a crisp new suit. This fusion of normality and absurdity is what makes this mission truly memorable. The space is relatively smaller and more open than other locations, making it far more accessible to the average player. And there is something starkly fascinating about blending into a typical neighbourhood, filled with other people who are trying to blend in as well. The assassinations are simple in nature, like killing a target by putting a bomb in their mailbox,
Nolan Cassidy is down.
poisoning a muffin, or knocking someone unconscious with a rake are all simple pleasures to the average player, and so unique to the Hitman series. The level further provides numerous ways to complete a given objective. 47 can meet one of the targets as his nurse,
How are you? Where's Lafayette?
He's not well.
Hopefully it's something serious.
or get the nurse to attend by removing a distraction, in this regard, ducks. The same can be said of the real estate agent, whose disguise can be taken, or he can be prompted to give the tour himself.
That has to be enough. Wonder what's on TV tonight. I better go find a Gatsby guy.
This gives this level much more depth than the previous two missions, which often restricted the player choice by providing one way to achieve a certain assassination. On top of this, the ease of access makes it a far more accessible and relatable experience than that of Santa Fortuna and Hawke's Bay, and the target's proximity never makes the level feel distant and detached, requiring 47 to trudge across empty space. But whilst the locale, setting and tone are beautiful, and the level is far easier to enjoy given its simplicity, it also has its shortcomings. Underutilisation has been a common grievance, but in no location is it more overt than Whittleton Creek. Numerous houses are either empty or certain areas of the home are inaccessible, and being the focal point of the mission, this significantly detracts from the immersion. It feels blatantly off that 3 noteworthy homes are either empty or unfinished. Another key example of this is the politician disguise. If 47 places a political flyer in one of the target's mailboxes, he will seek to meet the politician. But 47, for no discernible reason, cannot attend the meeting in the politician's place. This forces the player to wait 23 minutes for the politician to finish his tour around the neighbourhood and return to his base of operations to set up a simple electricity kill. This mission does far less wrong or poorly than previous entries, but also has one colossal issue within its primary mission that, with no exaggeration, eviscerates its replayability, and that is its third objective. While I don't find Nolan Cassidy to be a particularly interesting target, the Find Clues objective completely undermines the replayability of the mission. Within the story, 47 goes to Whittleton Creek to kill the original constant and try to find a link to the newer constant. This involves retrieving information on the partners or figureheads of Providence, and to do this 47 must find 3 clues, of which there are a total of 9 clues, but only 3 specific bits of information must be recovered from 3 clues within these 9. The first 2 are still laborious, but achievable, but the third requires significantly more effort. This requires 47 to either retrieve a surveillance tape and play it in the attic of another home, as you can just see here, or obtain a microfilm and play it in another home's attic, or retrieve a shovel and dig a hole to retrieve a cigar box. The cigar box is the easiest of the 3, but like many of the clues, is on the very edge of the map. If you want to make this process as quick as possible, you will typically find 3 clues in close proximity and go for those 3, but it still often adds anywhere between 2 to 5 extra unfulfilling minutes to an otherwise enjoyable level. This big issue holds this level back a notable amount and is the deciding factor between this mission and the number 3 spot. Overall, Whittleton Creek is a joy to play through. It is a charming, suburban dream, but is held back in a few facets that prevents it from being any higher on this list. Following the death of Janus in the penultimate mission of Hitman 2, his body is sent to a mysterious island in the North Pacific. Janus lies at a yearly event for a cabal of wealthy elites fearful of the world's potentially impending demise, so that they may mourn their former chairman's death. This takes 47 to Hitman 2's finale and its number 3 spot on the Isle of Sgail. In its primary mission, entitled the Ark Society, it could not be further away from Whittleton Creek's Another Life. Everything on the isle is grand and over the top, from famous pieces of art, Fabergé eggs, to the dagger of Tsar Nicholas II himself. The atmosphere, with almost all NPCs wearing masks, the bizarre sci-fi-esque programs the Ark Society runs, on top of the beautiful medieval castle in the dark of night, establishes such a memorable experience. The soundtrack that plays in the background adds tension, and the mission feels over the top in every regard, but feasible. The best description for a Hitman fan is the Isle of Sgail represents a blend of two great missions, A Dance with the Devil and Beldingford Manor, two of my three favourite missions in the entire series. The isle itself is dominated by a castle of gargantuan proportions that to this day I still find myself getting lost in. But whilst the level design can be complex at times, all the space is used to its maximum potential, whether it contains trinkets to attend a meeting with Zoe Washington, performing some visual storytelling on this Doomsday Society, or simply providing the player a means to scale their way up the castle. And this directs us to what the location truly does best, and that is its verticality. The mission itself feels like a journey of verticality, with progress correlating to what floor 47 is on. Starting off at the lowest point of the level and looking up only helps enforce this idea. Disguises are used as passes to move higher up the castle. Guest areas are within the centre of the castle, with guard and staff areas stretching out onto both sides. The higher 47 climbs, the more important the outfit needs to be. In terms of guests, Ark patrons may access the bottom floors of the bar and ceremonial areas, whereas Ark members can move up the castle where the first target roams. Then architects may progress up to the upper levels, and the top few floors require a councilman disguise. The same rule applies for staff and guards. Event staff are located on the bottom floors, whilst castle staff serve on the upper floors of the castle. Guards progress in 3 tiers respectively. Firstly, you have a generic guard disguise, then there's the raiders, and then finally elite guards. The verticality is so beautifully infused within the level. Sgail functions similarly to Hokkaido's very specific disguise system, combined beautifully with Paris's verticality. While I think those two levels were better focused and more intricately designed, it is still a massive strength for the final location of Hitman 2. And speaking of being the finale, this mission does feel like a deserved end to Hitman 2, providing significant challenge, but allowing an experienced player, or someone who replays the level, to complete objectives far more efficiently. The mission stories all require a significant amount of stealth prowess, with 3 different instances requiring 47 to obtain a disguise in a well-guarded area, with at least 2 other guards or civilian witnesses about. Others require significant concentrated effort, like fetching tokens to meet with Zoe Washington, or stealing the necklace to meet her sister, Sophia. However, with skill and practice, 47 can find shortcuts to significantly cut back the time it takes to set up the kill opportunity. On my first playthrough of the Ark Society, I spent upwards of 30 minutes trying to find 10 tokens lying about next to candles. But after time and practice, I can shoot 2 objects and obtain a disguise to get it done in less than 5 minutes overall. Thus, replaying the mission feels like a genuine payoff. The mission stories are also highly memorable, with many of them being highly eloquent and grand bombastic spectacles. The ceremony and funeral opportunities are shining examples of this, whereas others let the player dictate the outcome of their hard work. You can poison Sophia in a toast, or meet her privately upstairs as Jebediah Block, to kill her in whatever this is. This level, for me at least, was the most enjoyable to play through the first 4 to 5 times because of the grandeur and the elegance of the kills within the mission stories. However, after playing through the mission a few more times, many players will realise the main shortcoming of this mission is the dependence on the mission stories to kill the targets. I want to discuss targets on a separate video, but it's important in order to properly review the Ark Society to mention the restrictive routes of the 2 targets. Both targets are in very close proximity to each other, lack memorable personalities, and only allow for about 3 to 4 different kills respectively, mainly comprising of opportunities/mission stories. This is well below the average of the season, and ultimately means the level can get boring quicker than others. But for the sheer enjoyment of the first few run-throughs, it would be a disservice to place it any lower. Despite grounding my decisions, I can understand this one in particular might be an unpopular opinion to some, with Whittleton Creek being an incredibly popular location for many players. In my opinion, what truly distinguishes these two levels is how they handle their third objective. While Whittleton Creek feels laborious, forced and ultimately detracts from the mission, the Isle of Sgail handles it perfectly. The requirement not to kill the Constant seems an interesting one, but given his large route, can actually be annoying when he catches you in the middle of some criminal activity. This proves to be particularly annoying if it's during a mission story. In order to follow the story of the mission, the Constant must be brought away to be interrogated. 47 has the choice to lead the Constant out of the mission, but it is entirely optional, with the Shadow Client sweeping in if the objective is otherwise unfulfilled. This makes sense with the story and bumps up this mission above Whittleton Creek, even if it's only marginally. The Isle of Sgail is one of the greatest Hitman experiences ever, at least for the first few attempts. Both memorable, ambitious, and unique. It would be a shame to miss out on this intricately designed finale to Hitman 2. Whilst it does not share the replayability of other missions, it needs to be experienced to be believed, and is a very deserved number 3 spot on this list. The following two missions are what I believe are the indisputable masterpieces of Hitman 2. These levels are up in the stratosphere and are in their own league compared to the rest. Given how difficult I've found trying to separate the number 2 and number 1 spot, these last two are primarily based on which one I would recommend purchasing if you could only purchase one. The second spot, as seen before, is Mumbai. Mumbai is a radically innovative level within Hitman 2 and the series more broadly. Excluding New Zealand, this is the only mission that 47 is dispatched to eliminate direct members of the Shadow Client's militia. And whilst it is the only major mission that targets the militia, what a mission it is. The briefing is my personal favourite in any Hitman game, and I'll let an abbreviated version explain the premise.
In the meantime, we have a lead on Lucas Gray's top lieutenant. Turns out the Delgado cartel's counterfeiting unit was creating fake IDs for the militia, and one operative in particular stands out, Wazir Kale, an infamous South China Sea pirate better known by his nom de guerre, the Maelstrom. The Maelstrom and his cutthroat band of outlaws were the scourge of the shipping industry in the post-recession years. Maelstrom's connection to Gray is unknown, but we believe it was he who carried out the audacious killing of a Providence CEO in Shanghai, along with 2 reactivated members of his old pirate gang, Vanya Shah, a shady figure in Mumbai's criminal underworld, and Dawood Rangan, the gang's old cashier turned dodgy movie producer. Shah, Rangan, and the Maelstrom form Lucas Gray's Eastern Cell. They are a crack strike team, and stopping them is our client's most pressing concern.
While I'll admit I was initially worried how much I would enjoy this level, the moment I learned that it would be facing the Shadow Client's elite strike team and I loaded into the level, I knew it was going to be something absolutely spectacular. 47 finds himself in a sea of people within a small sector of a major city to kill someone who he does not even know the identity of. When you load in, on the left, Dawood Rangan's massive tower eclipses the skyline, and in the distance on the right hand side, the silhouette of another target, Vanya Shah. And of course, in the central slums, the Maelstrom lies around every corner, but at the same time is nowhere to be found. There's really not much more to say about the setting other than it being in the middle of a huge city in slums filled with hopeful and hopeless people. The soundtrack is the most pronounced and my personal favourite in Hitman 2 as well. You've got that Bollywood-esque suspicion music capturing the feeling of being caught out.
Have I seen you before? Who are you? You are the sun right now.
And the soundtrack in the slums encapsulates 47 chasing a ghost. But my personal favourite is the soundtrack that plays when entering Vanya Shah's domain that evokes a sense of emptiness and some mystic sense of hope. But to get to the real meat of what makes Mumbai such a great level, we need to discuss how the level is designed. Similarly to Columbia, there are 3 targets who each control their own respective areas. But instead of there being vast stretches of emptiness, everything feels far more interconnected. Given the Maelstrom is invisible to the player at the start of the mission, and he roams the centre of the map, there is always the sense he might be, well, around every corner. This cuts out the empty space in the middle of the map and proves to be a massive strength for Mumbai. The map is quite literally broken into thirds, each area feeling relatively equal in size and each target feeling equally important, having their own separate identities and daily activities. While the Maelstrom is in fact the most important of the 3, it does not feel as though he is the primary target and the others are secondary in importance. This is a huge strength for both Mumbai and the number 1 spot, and a noteworthy but not a critical weakness of the previous entries. For example, Jorge Franco and Andrea Martinez appear subservient and thus less significant to Rico Delgado in Colombia. Darwood's Tower, Vanya's abandoned railway yard, and the Maelstrom's streets all share certain similarities but also differences that make each engaging in their own right. All areas have at minimum a lower tier and higher tier guard disguise, 2 civilian disguises, and a mission story outfit. Darwood has local security guarding the construction site and bottom floors of his tower, and his own Bollywood bodyguards defending the upper floors. Bollywood crew members and dancers scurry about the movie set in the meantime, and a painter seeks to put the finishing touches to Darwood's portrait. Meanwhile, Vanya Shah has an assortment of guards, but similarly, her own personal bodyguards. Her servants tend to her every need, while her laundry business is powering along, despite the manager she deeply wants to meet locking himself away in his office. I just want to mention how well designed this business is. It's layered, immersive, and contains a lot of disguises from the mission in one place, as well as providing opportunities to dismiss workers. Finally, the Maelstrom walks around his highly secured gang compound filled with regular and elite guards, as well as street vendors, metal workers, and an informant barber. Each area's mission stories and kill opportunities almost universally lie within each specific area, giving the mission a much tighter focus than Santa Fortuna. Assassinations are also highly memorable, like blowing Dawood Rangan off his building during the filming of the final scene of Mumbai Hero. You can also blow up Vanya Shah's pool and shave the Maelstrom a little too closely as the barber. In terms of the differences, each area challenges the player on a particular aspect of stealth, 2 of which were recently introduced in Hitman 2, at least compared to Hitman 2016. Darwood's Tower tests the player's ability to cope with verticality, and in some regards serves as an introduction to the final challenge provided in Sgail. The tower is 6 stories high, and the player will often traverse around the sides or edges of the building. Vanya Shah has quite a well-kept garden in a railway station, which allows the player to use shrubbery as a disguise in a smaller, more focused setting than Columbia. While the Maelstrom tests the player's abilities to blend into a crowd, especially with guards on high alert. But an additional challenge arises from the need to find out who the Maelstrom is. This can be done in several ways, including identifying him through photos in Darwood's Tower and Vanya's railway station. A resident of the slums also has a photo of him, or it can be found in the Crow's hideout itself. Or the player could pursue him through a mission story, or even eventually learn his route to identify him without needing to obtain a photo or have him change out of his disguise. Given the disguise changes every time, this will take some time to figure out, but provides enough ways to avoid it getting tedious like other objectives in previous entries. Finally, it would be amiss not to mention arguably Mumbai's greatest strength, which comes in the form of one NPC known as the Kashmirian. After a falling out, Shah and Rangan have placed hits out on each other with a local assassin, and 47 can use this to eliminate a target and arrange the other two to meet up. Each of the 3 targets can meet with the other 2 if the player so desires, which sets up 2 of the grandest over-the-top kills to be found anywhere but Sgail. One involves derailing a train. Other involves releasing a huge object from a crane. I sound like Dr. Zeus here. This one NPC provides 3 ways for 47 to kill all 3 targets. The final option is to kill both targets and meet with the Maelstrom as the assassin. The player may seek out the Maelstrom in his hideout and collect coloured smoke to arrange the 2 enemies to meet as well. This means the player can effectively only conduct 2 assassinations but kill 3 targets. This reduces the time it takes to complete the mission and greatly enhances the replayability. Before I wind this up, I want to mention how well implemented coins were in this mission. You can get something ridiculous like up to 30 coins if you shave everyone at the barber shop, and you can use them to call up a target, purchase cloth for a mission story, and escape almost anywhere in a taxi. But I digress. I could talk for hours about this mission and how it is like the Sapienza of Hitman 2. Massive in scope, a revolutionary step forward, and littered with tiny details, and overall, a timeless experience that players will remember for years to come. I'm so happy to be able to sit here and say that IO Interactive took such a risk in changing the traditional formula with this mission, and it really paid off. Everything about Mumbai is spectacular. It is consistently enjoyable and is the embodiment of everything good about the previous locations all in one experience, without the bad. It is a groundbreaking achievement in stealth gameplay that redefines what a stealth mission can be. And despite all this, I think the #1 spot can offer even more.
Welcome to Miami.
Miami is the quintessential Hitman experience. It is the perfect fusion of old and new. It is the absolute embodiment of the best any Hitman game has to offer. There are 2 targets, both of which are shady individuals who hold significant influence in the world. The level takes place in a relatively low security setting, but both targets are very well protected and at the center of attention to thousands of people around them. And yes, this level has well over 1,000 NPCs in it. Using disguises, equipment, and almost every trick in the book, Agent 47 must pull off the impossible by eliminating both individuals silently, either unnoticed or accidentally. Miami is one big party, a fiesta of huge proportions. It is a massive level like Sapienza, with just under 30 disguises to choose from, but has people celebrating a very public event, just like Paris. This level was the marketing giant for the release of Hitman 2, and it makes perfect sense why. The level was completely revealed before launch, and even without the surprise factor, it is still an absolute joy to play through every single time. Its attention to detail is seemingly better than any other level, with the level being littered with Easter eggs. You can kill a flamingo mascot with an android, to cause a flamingo invasion, and then exit by flying away like nothing happened. Getting away in a race car dressed as the Stig is pretty epic as well. All of these little details promote exploration of the level and keep the tone light-hearted and comedic. And speaking of the level, it is absolutely massive. You are given an introduction to the level and see the tension in the final moments of the global innovation race as your target is doing everything possible to squeeze in first. And then 47 loads into a cascading soundtrack that gives the level a sense of grandeur and action. The player starts at the entrance to the race and has the choice to enter the event to deal with Sierra Knox, or walk under the underpass to meet with her father, Robert Knox. Each target predominantly remains on their respective side of the map, Robert in his Bayside Exhibition Centre and Sierra along the track. What truly makes Miami unique is how dynamic the map is, and this primarily comes from Sierra Knox's role as a target. Sierra Knox starts off the level in a Kronstadt RK Mark III race car, driving at high speeds in the centre of the map for a brief moment, and then outside a targetable area. The player only has a few seconds in which they can shoot at the car, and are fundamentally left with two options: kill Sierra Knox while she is racing, or end the race and deal with her on foot. This forces substantial planning on behalf of the player to eliminate the targets. If they leave Sierra for too long, the race will end and opportunities will disappear. But in some cases the player will want to speed up the end of the race, or even alter the outcome to let Sierra win. This makes Miami the most dynamic mission seemingly in the series. While on the track, 47 can shoot the car. He can disguise as a pit crew member and place a bomb on the car, or loosen a wheel to cause Sierra to crash. There is even an opportunity to trick her father into blowing up the car, then pushing him over the railing. Or the player can push Robert onto Sierra's car, another highly memorable double assassination. To end the race, the player can disqualify a racer, destroy enough cars to cause the race to end, place sugar in one of the race's engines, or end the race on a laptop terminal using the race official's laptop dongle.
47. The race is over.
If the player lets Sierra win, they can kill her by poisoning the winner's cup. Or they can choose to mess with the pyrotechnics. Even if she loses, there are a barrage of interesting ways to eliminate her, including poisoning her in a medical appointment, or spiking a drink with gasoline in a drinking contest. The racing half of the level feels vibrant, with crowds cheering and people celebrating. There is a VIP section with a private party, and stands filled with mesmerised racing fans wearing their team's colours. This space feels so alive and well used, and there are so many disguises to choose from that give access to certain areas, from medics to security to mechanics. Providing so many disguises gives the player a fresh chance if they mess up, and allows new players to become familiar and engaged with the Hitman formula. Aside from the great setting of a racetrack, one which is incredibly dynamic in nature and has a fantastic target respectively, another shining achievement for Miami is its fantastic sense of contrast. The other half of the level takes place along the Miami Bay. It's a quiet, tranquil, and spacious area. There are very few NPCs, and it feels like a breath of fresh air from the action-packed global innovation race. The second target, Robert Knox, has an incredibly large route around his Kronstadt-owned Bayside Centre, and can be persuaded to walk along the Bay Area as well if his favourite food vendor opens up. This provides the player with numerous kill opportunities, including hitting him with a fish sign, or poisoning his eye drops. This is on top of the mission stories, which involve quite graphic and intense ways to eliminate the tech CEO. In the same sense as Mumbai, both of these targets are made to feel incredibly important and seemingly untouchable. One, the fiery race car driver; the other, an egomaniacal tech CEO who appears to be pushing innovation a little too far. The map is split down the middle by the racing track, and to access either sides of the map, there are multiple underpasses and overpasses to swap sides. But as mentioned before, the real achievement of this map is its dynamic nature. The player has significant control over the outcome of events, which can drastically change the way the level plays out every single time. In no other Hitman level does the player feel so in control of what may potentially happen, with the simplest of actions having widespread ramifications. This forces, like no other location, very careful preparation and planning if the player wants a silent assassin ranking. Light-hearted fun on the surface, but highly complex on closer analysis is how I would describe the level overall. Even though this video only focuses on launch missions, it is worth mentioning that Miami serves as the beta location for Hitman's competitive online multiplayer mode called Ghost Mode. Despite being a huge map, given the large assortment of disguises and very clearly defined spaces within the map, it is a seemingly perfect fit to launch a radically new online mode. It is an incredibly enjoyable mode, but one I may touch on in more detail another time. It only serves to prove how easy it is to pick up Miami as a map, and how it can be an equilibrium point in which experienced and new players meet. A final point about Miami I feel quite comfortable saying is it's the most beautiful location of Hitman 2. It has that beautiful sunny afternoon feel of Sapienza, whilst having a party 3 times the size of Paris. Then the quiet, serene view over the bay, looking out at all the yachts as hot air balloons fly high above the skies. It really is quite picturesque, but also far larger and far more exciting than the serenity of Whittleton Creek. This is why I mentioned at the start, I feel like Miami is the perfect culmination of all the positives of the previous levels without the bad. This mission remains relatively true to the Hitman formula, and if I were to recommend any level on Hitman 2 to experience what a Hitman game is, this would be it. I would genuinely struggle to say anything bad about this level. It's easy to pick up, master, and come back to time and time again. And I think it is clear from both the developers and the community sentiment that Miami is one of the finest Hitman levels to date, and a fan favourite of Hitman 2. Whilst Mumbai is a masterpiece in its own right, this list could not have ended any other way. Thus the first level seen in the reveal of Hitman 2 turned out to be its finest hour. A true blend of past successes and future potential. Miami is a timeless level that finishes up first on this list. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video, I just want to thank you for watching it in its entirety. I hope you've enjoyed watching it and maybe even learned something about your favourite levels, or if you haven't played Hitman 2, this may have sparked some interest in getting it. This video has taken a tremendous amount of work, taking up to about 20 hours all up, and I would greatly appreciate if you could like this video. Despite grounding my reasons quite clearly, I'm sure some people have different opinions, which I would love to read in the comments below, regardless if you disagree or agree with this list. Given this list is quite long, I'm going to try and upload an abbreviated version in the coming weeks. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video.